The young adult book to television show / movie pipeline has grown more and more popular over the years. The last few years have focused on young adult contemporaries as young adult dystopians were dying out. It wasn't until the summer of 2018 when young adult contemporaries were officially seen for its value. That summer, another dystopian film, The Darkest Mind, received a negative reception. To contrast, 2 weeks later, To All the Boys I Loved Before dropped on Netflix to immense popularity. The adaptations of Jenny Han's books partly sparked the rom-com renaissance we see today. Jenny Han had To All the Boys I Loved Before be a successful film trilogy, and The Summer I Turned Pretty has captivated audiences as well. Her adaptations have changed the landscape, and both trilogies have a distinct voice. The objective of this video is to only focus on the first books in each respective trilogy. Sorry, Burn for Burn. Hopefully your time will come. Looking at the themes and trends used in the adaptations themselves and getting us hooked from the beginning. The goal is to have a limited discussion of the books, as some details are important for argumentative purposes, but I don't want this to turn into a book review. To All the Boys I Loved Before was published on April 15, 2014, taking inspiration from Han, like the book's protagonist Lara Jean, who writes love letters to her crush as a teenager. 16-year-old Lara Jean Song Covey writes letters as a way of getting over them. She has 5 letters: Kenny from Camp, John Ambrose McLaren, Lucas, Josh Sanderson, and Peter Kavinsky. Her letters get sent to the sender, courtesy of her sister, as she actually puts their addresses on them. To avoid confronting Josh, her best friend and sister's ex, she begins fake dating Peter Kavinsky. The film was met with rave reviews and cemented itself as one of the best rom-coms in the 2010s. The Summer I Turned Pretty was published almost 5 years earlier on May 5, 2009. The book follows 15-year-old Belly Coughlin, who spends every summer going to Cousin's Beach with her brother and mother. Her family goes with her mom's best friend Susanna, who has 2 sons, Conrad and Jeremiah. This summer is different. The first season of the television show premiered last month on Amazon, and like To All the Boys I Loved Before, received rave reviews. Despite the source material coming out over a decade ago, themes of friendship and girlhood, along with the pop soundtrack, courtesy of multiple Taylor Swift songs, have captured its young audience. When adapting To All the Boys I Loved Before, Jenny Han discussed in various interviews about how there wasn't confidence in an Asian American lead. When thinking about other young Asian girls in book adaptations, one of the only ones that come to mind is the Babysitter's Club, Claudia Kishi. She was artistic, outgoing, and eccentric, inspiring a generation that read the books and saw her on screen.
Because we've come to propose a creative collaboration. Have you ever heard of Queer Eye?
Of course, no. They're not here, are they?
No, but we are the Terrific Two. I love that.
In To All the Boys I Loved Before, the film begins with introducing us to Lara Jean. She's walking in a field and ends up walking towards a boy, her crush / best friend / sister's boyfriend, Josh Sanderson. She's wearing a flowy red dress and is snapped back into reality by her younger sister Kitty. The camera goes back and forth between Lara Jean and Kitty, which makes this scene stick out in my mind. A dream sequence is the perfect introduction to Lara Jean, a Pisces through and through. Lara Jean's bedroom is the second location we see in the film and is one we see again and again. Her bedroom is usually pretty messy, her writing desk a sanctuary, filled with hues of pinks and blues. She's a dreamer, a girl that wants love but's scared. Her head is in the clouds, inserting herself in the books she reads. Lara Jean's fashion is described as vintage, with the costume designer Rafaela Rabinovich saying her fashion is more 90s. A hobby of Lara Jean is baking, which we see her do in the film. The trilogy takes place in a small town reflective of where Jenny Han grew up. The film might have moved from the book's setting of Virginia to Oregon, but the feeling of suburbia remains. In Harper Bazaar, Jenny Han talked about how the setting really highlighted Lara Jean's sense of loneliness. I think that's a very different experience to grow up in a big city and be in a really diverse place with tons of different kinds of kids, and people who are from the same background as you all sort of mixed together. We see loneliness throughout the film, especially after Margot goes to college and she has no one to eat lunch with. But it's more than that. With small towns, there isn't much to do. It's a huge deal when they go on the infamous ski trip, partly due to an escape to the usual routine. In a small town, you hang out at the same places. Compared to a big city, there's usually more going on, more ways to entertain yourself. Lara Jean's relatability is a big part and something we also see with Belly Coughlin. The director, Susan Johnson, says for Refinery, she's not sure she's worthy of love in her head. Johnson explained, I think that's a big fear everyone has. If we can really reveal who we really are to the people we love, will those people still love us? There's a lot of love to go around, and Lara Jean ultimately gets this inner strength to be herself. In addition, Lana Condor says this for Vogue. I loved playing someone with a good heart, a normal girl. I love playing colorful characters, but there's something very refreshing about just playing a girl next door. a normal girl next door that was very refreshing and very human and challenging for me. Usually I get to hide behind crazy shit happening around me, but Lara Jean has a good heart, and she's a normal girl, and I sure hope everyone else likes her. Spoiler alert, everyone. Well, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people did. Belly Coughlin is different. Her flaws are more obvious, specifically her immaturity and selfishness. Which this isn't to say that Lara Jean can't be immature as well. Belly comes off pretty insufferable in the books at times, but she comes across more likable in the show. The beginning of the show introduces us to Belly through the summers and Cousins. After the flashbacks at Cousins, we are in Belly's room. Her room is more neutral, with the room being a bit disorganized and references to the beach throughout. To note, her bedroom in Cousins has white and blue wallpaper and is notably brighter. Belly is determined to put herself out there this summer. Her first boyfriend is Cam, who's a sweetheart and makes this point that he liked her before this summer. On Cam and Belly's date, they watch Sabrina at the drive-in, with the movie saying, "Well, I'll never resist an impulse, Sabrina, especially if it's terrible." That's a recurring theme in both first books. Take a chance, you never know what could happen. Belly has multiple nicknames, and the one I like the most is Cinderbelly, said by Taylor. Like she's this normal girl that eventually gets the chance to go to her ball and become someone else. The costume design for Belly is more casual as she wears crop tops, jean shorts, and big t-shirts. Some of the changes in her wardrobe are courtesy of Taylor, like when she wore a pink tight dress to the bonfire and a bikini Taylor got for her. Belly's debut at the ball is not just another coming-of-age moment, but also a reference to a film I mentioned in my last video, 1968's Romeo and Juliet, with the headpiece being a nod to Juliet. Lola Tung described Belly in Glamour as, "She's very headstrong and determined. She's figuring everything out and finding her own path and coming into her own. I'm really grateful we were so close in age and that I was able to bring a bit of myself to her. That's something I'm definitely still doing in my life right now. She just is a very loving person and cares a lot about the people in her life and her family and the Fisher boys. I really love that about her." In addition, Jenny Han says for Time, "Belly has never felt like the main character, and this is her moment when she's in the center of things. That's what makes it so exciting and also messy. She makes a lot of mistakes, but she also has really great moments, which is so much of being young and experiencing things for the first time." Both girls are still figuring out who they are, and their depiction of girlhood is relatable to its audience. Both characters are expressive and wear their heart on their sleeves. As we watch the girls grow up, their families play a large part in their lives. Within the first few minutes of To All the Boys I Loved Before, we are introduced to Lara Jean's family while they're having dinner together. We could have been introduced to her family through a voiceover or flashbacks like the boys she wrote letters to, but instead it was centered around a part of their routine. Jenny Han has spoken about being inspired by the March sisters from Little Women, specifically seeing similarities with Beth and Lara Jean. But mainly, I was thinking about Beth in the way that no one really wants to see themselves as Beth because she's the boring one who just plays the piano and stays at home and then she dies. So I thought, well, for the Beths out there, what is their story? And if you're an introvert, if you're someone who likes to stay at home, what really moves you? And what makes you tick? And what's your inner life like? The dinner table gave us insight into the song Cubbies and tells us Lara Jean's mother died a couple years ago. Margot, the older sister, is having one of her final meals before she goes off to college. And even if she isn't at the center of the table, she's the leader, conscious of how her sisters look up to her. Kitty is the youngest and is very easygoing, cracking jokes at the dinner table. Their dad, at the head of the table, similar to Kitty, is lighthearted and is always doing what's best for his daughters. Josh, Margot's boyfriend, is at the dinner and his presence is accepted by the family. Lara Jean's relationship with her father is pretty hilarious. The scene Lara Jean has in the diner with her father has her take initiative with her feelings for Peter, and he talks about her mother. Margot leaves for college, so we see more of Lara Jean's relationship with Kitty. From going to school together, getting close to Peter, and watching movies. Margot's relationship with Lara Jean is strained because of her knowing Margot will see through her lies of fake dating Peter. Margot has a fight with Lara Jean near the end of the film when she finds out Lara Jean loved Josh. Margot and Lara Jean reconcile, and Kitty confesses that she sent out the letters. As sisters, they fight, but love each other nonetheless. The first scene with Belly's family is within 5 minutes and has Belly singing along to Kim Petras in the car with her mom and brother. Similarly, we really see the family dynamic when they're eating dinner together alongside Susanna and her sons. The children play off one another, with the mothers being at one end of the table and Conrad, the oldest child, at the end. The mothers are attached at the hip, and we really see how the boys hang out without Belly, so she's usually left out. Stephen is Belly's older brother, and his relationship with Belly is the classic sibling relationship, with them arguing a fair amount this season, but having moments where they truly care for one another. I'm not a huge fan of Stephen's storylines, as the poker storyline was just bad. Stephen's motivations for his actions throughout the show are the glooming cost of college and his awareness of his economic situation compared to his peers and cousins. The theme revolving around class are not handled well in the show. Yes, college is expensive, especially going to a private university like Princeton. However, if money was tight, then why would someone who cares this much about money for college be so willing to gamble it away? In a poker game that wasn't even for real money. I would have thought Stephen would have been more cautious with his spending, which we saw earlier as he kept talking about how unsure he was about spending money on an expensive suit for the debt ball. The Stephen-Shayla relationship was easily the best storyline Stephen had, and I wish we saw more of their development, establishing how they began texting during the school year, then becoming a relationship this summer. Overall, I feel like their arc was a bit rushed. The mothers, Susanna/Laurel, share some of the best scenes in the show as we saw them smoke weed, snack, throw a fun 4th of July party, and get drunk at a bar. Interesting to note how each adaptation is centered on one parent. Susanna and Laurel seem to be in love with one another, not really clear if it's romantic. One line that stuck out to me was when Laurel was talking to Belly, and she says how she felt this spark with one person, and it wasn't with her father. The scene where they find out about Susanna having cancer was my favorite scene in the show, because it really made us feel the family dynamic. This reinforces how close the children are with their mothers, and how much their lives revolve around them. A pinnacle of young adult books is love triangles, and Jenny Han loves them. In love triangles, especially in trilogies, it goes like this. The first book, the love triangle, is introduced. We meet the prospects. The second, it becomes solidified. Maybe the second option gets more of a chance. And the finale has the protagonist make a choice. Jenny plays along with the concept of love triangles differently in each adaptation. Josh, Peter, Lara Jean are not the strongest love triangle because Josh really doesn't stand a chance. The film does this by providing context for Margot and Josh. After showing Lara Jean third wheeling, she establishes the other boys she wrote letters to. With each boy, we get flashbacks to establish the scene that led to Lara Jean falling for them. Throughout the film, the two boys talk to her in her head, appearing in her bedroom, which play into her dreamy nature. This was a great detail to add because it showed how she lived in her head and her lack of expressing feelings out loud. Her moment of getting with Peter is making out with him on a track to avoid Josh, which leads to her fake dating him. Throughout their fake relationship, Peter opens Lara Jean up to new things. We see the relationship begin with having a contract, but the contract fades in the background as real feelings emerge. The party was the first time we see Lara Jean with her hair down, other than the dream sequence at the beginning of the film and watching movies with Kitty. This moment of letting her hair down was her relaxing and enjoying herself, not being scared of falling in love.
You might be the James Dean of this kind of stuff, but I've never had a boyfriend before.
You have the references of an 80-year-old woman.
Specifically with Peter, he captivated audiences with his charm and charisma. How can you forget about him saying, "Whoa, whoa, whoa," the hand in jean pocket scene, and even when Peter set down the popcorn before smacking Kitty with a pillow. Peter Kay was the perfect rom-com boyfriend. Noah Centineo says for Vogue, "What I really like about Peter is that he's this jock, right? But then you find out there's a lot of dimension to him, and that his home got broken up, and you kind of understand why he's the way he is, why he has maybe more of an ego than the average person, and why he's quicker to be in an altercation, and also why he feels the need to go back to his ex-girlfriend. He really just needs that love and support, and he's just such a human character, and I really enjoy being able to play that." The climax of the film is the ski trip. There was some tension between the ski trip where they're arguing, and the divider with the door in the hallway is genius. They become official after making out in the hot tub. Now, the moment is great, but the aftermath is what sticks in my mind. Lara Jean and Peter are walking back, and the camera focuses on how they're making intense eye contact with one another, like only they exist, which they're the only ones in the hallway. Peter slowly walking backwards is poetic. With Josh, we never believed she was actually going to end up with him, as that's her sister's ex-boyfriend. Her conversations with Josh at the beginning remain friendly, while as she ices him out, her body language is notably closed off. The ending of the film has some important symbolism, especially with the lack of color between Josh and Lara Jean's final combo, contrasting the red dress she wore in the dream sequence symbolizing love. In this moment, we realize, if we haven't already, she's completely over Josh. Lara Jean wrote letters as a way for her to let go of the boys, but the letters that Peter would write to her throughout the day helped her realize how much she liked him. The final scene at the lacrosse field parallels the scene where Lara Jean agrees to the terms of the contract and kisses him in front of everyone.
Hey, Kavinsky.
What?
Let's do this.
Lara Jean and Peter are dating. For real this time. Conrad and Jeremiah are interesting because deciding between brothers creates more tension. The love triangle is handled differently in the show compared to the first book, even down to the depiction of the boys. The big distinction that I want to point out is that Jeremiah is not a serious option for Belly. Her heart's only for Conrad at this point. The first hint of Jeremiah's crush in the show is when he called Belly his future wife. If you know, you know. Conrad almost admits to Belly knowing about Susanna's cancer in the first episode and Laurel 2 episodes later, which makes us sympathize with Conrad. Adam, Conrad and Jeremiah's father, comes home for the 4th, and when Conrad tries to open up to him, he says he's the oldest and doesn't really let him get a word in. This goes back to Laurel telling him that in the first episode. Chris Briney says this about Conrad for Glamour. While reading the books, he kind of hated Conrad at first. He's so rude and dismissive and closed off to the world, he says of the character. Sure enough, when we first meet Conrad in the TV series, he's all scowls and rolling eyes, but it's not long before we get a glimpse of those complicated layers underneath. To conclude, Conrad is viewed as the bad boy that's a bit misunderstood. To contrast the boy that is misunderstood, there has to be the nice guy, the golden retriever. Jeremiah is the best friend, but we don't see much development of how he's her best friend other than the driving lessons. Jeremiah wants to be liked by everyone, even being happy when his father shows up, but sad when he leaves unexpectedly, not wanting to see the fireworks. Jeremiah is talked about alongside his brother, and that comparison makes him feel second best, which hits him throughout the season. For example, Jeremiah gets jealous when they're in the car and she can't stop talking about Conrad, even hinting at her talking about Cam one day, then Conrad the next. The constant comparisons affect him, and 2 moments stick out to me. First, his volleyball performance as he's replaced by Conrad in the game. The handshake with Belly is the same with Taylor's, while Conrad gets his own. Second, Jeremiah was painted as a Greek god, Hermes. Hermes is the emissary god and messenger, and I see that as Jeremiah is meant to be the one to bring Conrad and Belly together. The love triangle becomes more apparent in the last 3 episodes, as the first 4 are the build-up. In episode 5, we are firmly in #team territory. The finale begins differently than all the others, the majority starting off with Belly or her with the Fishers. The episode begins with the preparation of the ball. Nicole says in this episode, "You're playing with a lot of hearts, Belly," which is one of my favorite lines because she is. In this episode, Jeremiah calls Belly a goddess when she's getting escorted, though she says not to call her that. I can't lie, it was especially cruel for Jeremiah to find out about his mom's cancer at the Deb ball. But the Belly Conrad team was really cute with The Way I Loved You playing. The boys fight because Conrad knew all along and reconcile at the house. The final scene has Conrad and Belly kissing on the beach, possibly together as a couple. The final thing I'll say about Conrad, Belly, Jeremiah is, unlike the Lara Jean, Peter, Joss love triangle, there is actually some back and forth. To be honest, I'm not super into either side, and I'm just intrigued to see how it plays out on screen. Girl friendships in Jenny Han's books seem to be sidelined in favor of developing the boys in the love triangle. The adaptations themselves develop them more than expected. Lara Jean's best friend is Chris, who appears from time to time, not really playing a large part in the book, but being there for her when it counts. Chris is Lara Jean's opposite, with being carefree and fearless. We find out that Lara Jean was best friends with Genevieve, who is Peter's ex-girlfriend. In the first movie, she's actively trying to break them up and does talk about being annoyed at Lara Jean for kissing Peter and spin the bottle since she liked him. This indicates that Lara Jean is not always a great friend because Genevieve did have a reason to be upset. Taylor is a bit harder to like in my opinion. She comes to Cousins twice in the show and is the extrovert / again opposite of the main character, Belly. Her time in Cousins has her kiss Steven on her birthday and be the #1 supporter of Belly dating Jeremiah. Taylor and Belly's friendship seems one-sided at times.
Who's Nicole? She's my big sister for the Deb ball. She's super nice and just really cool and fun. Oh, I'm like melting right now. Can we go back to the house? I want to change into my bikini and jump in the pool.
Sure.
We never hear more about Taylor's life, and even she admits that she feels like a side character to Belly. Which, despite the corniness of the line, Belly doesn't know the deeper side of Taylor. How do you not know your best friend has a crush on your brother? Later on, Belly makes the same comment about feeling like a side character, which if both sides of a friendship feel like a side character, then that's never good. When Taylor and Belly fight after she kisses Steven, her mother tells her, "Boys might come and go, but a best friend is one in a lifetime," which is funny to say as this show is 90% boys. Even the other friendships Belly has, Nicole, Gigi, and Shayla, don't feel developed much at all and doesn't help how Belly treats them. What are the girls' favorite color? Their interests? Their hobbies? If I had to say weakness for Jenny Han, it would have to be how friendships among girls are portrayed. The adaptations themselves try to rectify it, but to put it quite bluntly, she spends more time developing and strengthening the bond among the leads with her love interest, rather than girl friendships. When writing about the teen girl experience, I think friendships that are not solely romantic are important. I would say the friendships are notably weaker thus far in The Summer I Turned Pretty, so that's something I would watch out for in future seasons. When thinking about Lara Jean and Peter, one song sticks out, I Like Me Better, which plays when they're traveling to the ski trip. The camera's decisions make this film what it was showing drone shots of the setting, allowing us to feel a part of her small town. The overhead shots are some of my favorites with the letters and baking. The camera work feels intimate with how they handle close-ups and how they follow the eye with the romantic leads. It was like we were there, if that makes sense. For example, when Peter and Lara Jean are going to the party, the camera's set up from the front, with the two shown with their bodies facing one another at first instead of a close-up. The shot is centered with the door and it feels like we're watching them become a couple, as if we could walk by the room and see this angle ourselves. A divider is used multiple times in the film, with Lara Jean and Lucas in the bathroom, at the diner, and Lucas and Lara Jean doing face masks with the lamp. Similar methods were done in The Summer I Turned Pretty with the drone shots of the beach paired with shots of the club, the Fisher House, and close-ups. There was also multiple times, especially before the love triangle took off, so episodes 1 through 4, where the camera would be focused on Belly and Conrad would be looking at her out of focus. Once the love triangle started, there was less of that, almost like Conrad was more in terms with his feelings. There was cute details like Conrad drinking the hangover cure in the second episode and Jeremiah drinking it in the third. In regards to The Summer I Turned Pretty, I can get over the soundtrack at times, but an underrated moment was teenage dirtbag playing while Belly and Cam and Steven and Shayla are making out. The 4th of July episode is probably my favorite just because you find out a lot about different characters, starting with Belly making pomegranate margaritas and ending with the love triangle beginning. The reveal of the portraits is fascinating to me, with Conrad in a nice dress shirt, Steven more casual, Belly in the first white dress that resembles a wedding gown, and Jeremiah the god. The ending scenes of each Summer I Turned Pretty episode feel connected. The first episode ends with Conrad and Belly on the beach, with her admitting it wouldn't be like other summers, and leaves Conrad, which seems to be one of multiple attempts to get over her first love. The second episode is Conrad and Belly fighting, which contrasts the ending scene from the previous episode where they're getting along. Even Conrad asking to go get muffins for the house with her. Again, confirming not like other summers. The third episode has Susanna and Laurel at the beach talking about trying to have one normal summer. The fourth episode goes back to ending with Conrad and Belly talking at the pier. Their kiss is interrupted by Jeremiah setting off the fireworks. The fifth episode is Jeremiah making out with Belly in the pool. The ending of episode 6 is Belly telling Conrad it's too late, after she seems to confirm her feelings for Jeremiah. The finale ends where it all began with Belly and Conrad. With the ending of the episodes, you don't even have to really watch the entire episode to understand the trajectory of the season. You see Belly likes Conrad but wants to know other people. The mothers are hiding a secret but want to make it normal for the kids. Belly can't ignore her feelings for Conrad despite trying to move on and wants someone to take initiative and be sure of his feelings, which Jeremiah does. In the end, she can never get over how Conrad makes her feel. To All the Boys I Loved Before not only sparked a renaissance in the romantic comedy genre with love being about all the little things, but allowed for other books to get adapted. We like Peter and Lara Jean because of all the small things, and we're excited about where they would go. Conrad and Belly, or Jeremiah and Belly, represent the magic of summer love. The Summer I Turned Pretty has become one of the most successful, if not the most successful, teen shows on Amazon Prime, with season 2 being secured before airing and season 3 looking likely as well. Jenny Han's works, despite their flaws, represent an experience teenagers relate to: young love and the fear to put yourself out there. In a decade with young adult contemporaries getting more adaptations by the second, you can't help but fall in love with her characters.